This is just a reminder for each week of what we're aiming for. You will have done your background, and now this week you're working on your pattern. Okay, welcome back. So far you have completed this first layer. Now, whether it was the coffee and tea stain paper you chose, whether you had the glue to be able to do this textured layer where you'll be able to find things from your lockdown time to create these textured background, we're now going to work on the second layer. Now, the second layer is not the final layer, therefore it's not going to be the main focus. It's going to be a pattern that is almost going to disappear into the background. So it's only when you look at the picture closer and you look past that main image that you start to notice these hidden layers within. I want you to have a look at the logos that maybe we've seen throughout this lockdown time. It could be anything from the rainbows to the NHS logo. I'm actually going to look at the COVID-19 cell. I find this quite a beautiful symbol when it comes to a pattern. But what I've chosen to do is simplify it so it's not as much detail. So again, it doesn't stand out too much and it will sink into the background. So the first thing I've done is I found the image, I found a COVID-19 cell on the internet, and then I've had a go at drawing it and I've simplified it. So now what I need to do is transfer it onto my paper. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm drawing okay, so I have my circle. The next things I need to draw is the parts of the cell that kind of come off it. Now, they don't just come off it, they come off the whole way around the cell. But like I said to you a minute ago, I want to simplify the shape of this cell. It almost then will appear like a stamp in the background. So whichever logo you've chosen, think about having a look at simplifying it, because the object that we're going to draw eventually in the front is going to have lots of detail. So think about whether it's possible to just, that area is quite sensitive, simplify this object you're drawing in the background, okay? So that's the first part done. So the next thing is this COVID cell has been predominantly red in the images. So I've chosen red. I've also got myself a black and a white ready so I can create the tints and shades. I've also gathered myself a pink because, as we know, pink is obviously a tone of red. It is add white, therefore it is a tint. Now, if I was at school, if you lot were at school, we were probably doing this layer in paint. But as I've said to you the whole way along with this, I'm trying to use everything in the house that I believe you lot would also have at home. So if you do have paint and you think, actually I'd like to have a go at paint, then by all means do. And if not, we can just use a pencil crayons. But I would probably say practice it on a piece of paper before you go directly into your final piece. Or the other thing you can do is, if you do happen to make a slight bit of a mistake, then you could always get some paper, stick it over the top and tea stain it in, and it can just become part of those layers. So I've got my black, I'm adding a little bit of shade to the outside of these cell parts. So I'm just doing this quite quickly. Again, keeping it quick to hold your attention. Okay, so I think this area here is still a little bit soft, so I'm just going to leave that carefully. I'm going to take my pink, just add a little bit of pink into these. I need to work on that one a little bit. It's because I need to stand up, but if I stand up I'm probably going to block the camera, so I'll come back to that. The other thing is here, I want something to bring it together. Now the cell isn't hollow. The cell, just stand up a second, the cell is obviously a solid object, but I don't want to colour it all in. I feel if I colour it all in, it will make it stand out too strong, and it is just like this stamp in the background. So I'm just doing this kind of like edge to it around there. Get a bit of tone in there, so it's got a little bit of form and depth to it. Then the last thing before you lot go off and have a go on your own is I'm taking a white. I actually want to apply, you might be, certain surfaces that you work on are going to pick the pencil crayons up better than other surfaces. So you'll find some of these symbols that you apply might stay quite faint because the surface doesn't take the pencil crayons that well. And some of the surfaces that you use, you might find that the pencil crayons are taken really well and therefore they appear darker. That's nice, that creates a variant to the image that you're creating. So I'm just applying some white behind this cell, behind this COVID-19, to just get it to just pop out a little bit from the background. I'm also applying some in the middle, but I'm also going to take my red and just very slightly over the top of it, just have it faintly, so there's almost a slight red tone in the middle, so it doesn't appear too clear. Right, I'm going to continue with this. I will come back in a moment, but what I'd like you to think about is, because this is a pattern in the background, I'm not just going to do the one. I'm going to do a few all over the whole of my piece. I'm going to aim probably to work in odd numbers. Odd numbers always look better. And I will come back to you in a moment. Okay, so as you know, I'd obviously done the COVID-19 as my chosen pattern background, but what I wanted to quickly do for you as well is have a look at other backgrounds you could possibly do. So you can see on my tea and coffee stained one there, I've had a go at looking at rainbows and how I would do that as a pattern in the background. You can see on the corrugated cardboard in the middle, I've started to draw some face masks as a possible pattern of a background. My concern with the face mask was it taking up too much of the surface, and therefore was it going to distract from the object we drew on top? But these are the decisions you need to make. This is your final piece, but there are some examples to help you.